Hello, Internet. I'm. That's not going in.
What?
That's not going in.
Isn't it?
And you haven't actually recorded. You're not actually recording audio. Hello, Internet. I'm Firebolt.
And I'm the Orbiter.
And welcome to Breaking Bollocks, episode 22.
Indeed.
Today, you may notice, if you're on video, that is.
It's all changed.
If you're a dear listener, then this won't actually make any difference apart from. If you're really nerdy, the sound might be slightly different.
Yeah, because I couldn't be asked setting all the acoustic screen up and everything. It's all getting a bit too, too much like hard work.
Oh, yeah, it's not like it's a job.
No, it's not.
So we are recording in my room today because reasons.
Back to basics. Back to just having a fun, relaxing time. So today's episode is all about, and actually it does kind of fit into the subject, doesn't it? Do we have any follow-up first?
Well, we'll briefly talk about this because we tend to talk about channel stuff on the podcast. But no, we're not going to go too into it. But recently we've had a bit of discussion about how we are actually coping with our upload schedule.
And the fact that I'm not.
Yes.
You're kind of not as well a bit.
I think
You are, but...
I mean, yeah, only occasional mental breakdown, but you know what.
It's turning into an all-day, everyday job for me at the moment, and that's not what I wanted to... I don't want to give it up, but I want it to be...
Never gonna give you up.
It's not fun. It's not going to be fun for other people to watch or listen to if we're not having fun. I mean, you've got to make a hobby out of it, haven't you?
I suppose.
So, sacrificing all other aspects of your life to sitting, editing all day, every day, and doing uncut episodes for Patreons that aren't there, and recording Bob episodes for no one is kind of soul-destroying. And I want to have fun, so let's rescue this thing.
Have fun.
You're calling me a girl?
Sure. I mean, you got the hair for it.
So that kind of fits into our subject matter because it's it's all about our or my personal welfare.
I see what you did there. Yes, we are talking about welfare today.
Yeah, which I'd initially assumed would be about, and I'm sure it will be included, but what do you call it? Social welfare? So the social, sort of the welfare system. And that's an important part of the discussion. But welfare as a word in itself has much wider implications.
Indeed.
One of which is the welfare of your famous hosts. Infamous hosts.
You did say earlier that you had a piece of discussion. Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, I could do. I don't know whether... I suppose it is kind of related. It has implications in that area. But it probably would involve watching a YouTube video to introduce the concept, because it's something you might already know about this, but I only found out about it a few days ago, and I've seen a few articles about it since, and I went and looked at some YouTube videos about it from different sources earlier on today, and it's about the social credit system that's being introduced in China. Do you know anything about that?
I'm aware, although China does have a lot of problems with human rights, that they did have something where they assigned sort of societal value to people depending on what they actually did. I
mean, that's kind of been an ongoing thing for quite a while with them, hasn't it? But the reason it's coming into, or that I've seen the articles about it, it's coming in under a lot of scrutiny at the moment, is because it's basically being digitized. it's the article I first saw was like that a Black Mirror type society is underway. Basically, by 2020, there's this AI run surveillance system countrywide with blanket CCTV coverage of pretty much the whole population, and that can identify where you are, what you're doing, who you're with, and things like every aspect of what you do from day to day is given a score. And this is quite...
That does sound a lot like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah. Even down to, you're being watched doing your shopping in the supermarket. And if you're seen putting lots of alcohol in your trolley, you will lose points on the scoring system because it's an indicator of alcohol abuse. Conversely, if you put nappies into your trolley, you'll be credited with social score points because it shows responsibility.
Right.
And also the fact that the people who you are friends with and who you mix with, their social credit scores impact on your own. And that the outcome of it is that it actually impacts in that. Should we watch the video? Because it'll explain it a lot better than I am.
We're not putting the video into the podcast, but
no,
I should perhaps be able to explain it. But maybe the video will help.
Yeah. Now, there's various videos about this, and some very interesting ones that I would recommend having a look on YouTube. Just Google China social credit system, and it'll come up with stuff. We'll choose one that's not massively long, but not massively, that does kind of give a bit of information about it as well. So this is from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
There is some disturbing news from China, and it's not just...
That was probably far more sort of a laid-back approach to explaining it than I was watching earlier on. But yeah, basically there are all sorts of things that happen if you get downgraded on this social credit scoring system. If you go below a certain level, you're then no longer able to do things like buying train tickets or booking flights anywhere, or basically using public transport. We already have, I think one of the videos I was watching about it kind of points out that we do have, and I thought this myself as well, we do kind of have a watered down version of that already globally around the world, in that, we've got a credit scoring system here, but it's purely based on your financial activity.
It's not, though, actually. They take data from a bunch of other things. And apparently there was a weird thing recently. They downgraded the credit score of people that had Hotmail emails.
Right.
Because generally they managed to... this might have been insurance, actually. That those sorts of people, I think they are more likely to be older.
Mm.
And you don't put your age on that sort of thing necessarily. Depends. They're more likely to be older and perhaps, I don't know, more carefree.
Yeah.
One
of the things, I mean, I have a watch of the videos.
But it's weird what data
you
can get from things that seem completely unconnected, and they were using this.
The thing is, the more you kind of think about it, the more you can kind of talk yourself into it being a fairly benign system.
Can you?
Well, that's the scary thing about it, in that it does encourage more trustworthy behaviour from the citizens, if you know what I mean, and kind of encourages people to become more upstanding members of the community as a whole, if you like. but it is scary. I mean, things like I already know that because I have a fairly poor credit score, I cannot get some of the financial products that other people can get, and even if I do, I pay a higher premium for them. Like the interest rate on a loan that I get will be higher because I don't have a high credit score.
Right.
Which to me seems, I can see why it happens, because it's a bigger risk obviously to a lender. If somebody doesn't have a higher credit score, it's a bigger risk for them to lend, so they charge a higher interest rate. But that doesn't help the end user, because at the end of the day, if you have a lower credit score, it would tend to be because you're struggling more with money. So punishing you by charging you more interest for borrowing money,
Yeah, it's sort of like a cycle.
Yeah, makes things more difficult. So, but there was a reporter who had all his privileges taken away in China because he'd accused somebody in government of corruption, and the court had he'd been taken to court over these allegations, and he'd been made to apologise for these allegations he'd made, and told to pay a fine, and he refused to pay the fine, so they downgraded his social credit rating, and he can no longer use public transport. So basically he can't travel.
Right.
They show videos of somebody going onto the website to try and book a ticket, and it just says you're legally restricted.
Point when it gets into that, criticising the government becomes something that downgrades your social credit score. It's like the government put these things in place, that then it's kind of.
Well, I only looked into this for about.
But then you can get that with laws
for about half an hour earlier on. But there was another article that was saying about how it's actually this system being implemented. This is going to be fully implemented by 2020 in China. It's been under testing for a couple of years already. I think 2016 they started it. Can't remember exactly what he said, but already it is having effects on. Apparently, one article I was reading said it's having effects on the sovereignty of other nations, because it's not just individuals that are subject to these ratings, it's businesses as well. And any business which operates either within China or in conjunction with China across borders has a rating, if you like. And if an airline, for instance, doesn't apply the same restrictions or what do you call it, limitations on somebody who has a poor social credit rating, as the government think they should, then that company will have their social credit rating downgraded, which then puts the the transport from another country to China in a different kind of, makes it more difficult for people. Right. So it's weird, because it got me thinking, like, this seems like this whole dystopian kind of Big Brother kind of, the sort of thing that older people would be like, oh, you can't be doing this, you can't be taking away people's civil liberties and stuff. But a part of me was thinking, is this just the way the world's going? And
yeah, but I don't think that's a good thing. We've just sort of, well, this is less foretold by 1984 and more foretold by Brave New World.
Yeah.
Do you know what Brave New World is?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I did read it once. I can't really remember a huge amount about it, but
it's more based on society sort of becoming zombified simply in the pursuit of pleasure.
Now, this is possibly linked to a concept that I'm coming across I'm watching with Mrs. Orbiter, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the moment. And there's a concept in there that's just been introduced. It's a fantastic series. If you're into Marvel at all, watch it. About when the importance of society is put above the importance of the individual.
Right.
And whether or not that is correct, is a good thing or not.
Okay.
And it's one of those questions. I'm not sure I could. I don't think I would find it difficult to answer that. But I don't think you can answer that in a blanket sense, because it's not the importance of society as a concept, I think, that's more important than an individual, but the importance of maintaining a particular society may be if that society is a good one, a beneficial one. It may be that one individual is very bad for a very beneficial, for a very benign society. So that individual's rights are perhaps not as important as that society. But
No. But as soon as you go, this person's rights are not as important, I just go, no, that's a bad society that puts that forth at all.
So what if you have a situation where you have an inherently, what you might call evil, or a really bad society that's really bad for all its citizens, but there's an individual. The individual is put, the value of the individual is put before the value of the society, if you like, in that society. Do you think the individual is more important than the society as a whole? The individual's rights?
Well, it depends on what you mean by the society as a whole. If you mean the societal constructs put in place, or if you mean just the people in that society, because they are also individuals.
It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Different if somebody's like knocking down barriers in that society, like I imagine gay rights activists would have done in the 80s and before that. That's knocking down those barriers of society and improving their individual rights, but it's not actually harming the rights of someone else.
Yeah.
It's just changing that society, and I would say for the better.
Right,
but
so society has to be a fluid concept.
Yeah, of course. I mean, otherwise you're just not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
You're not going to progress.
Agreed.
But shall we get on to welfare?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I'm getting annoyed at people that don't seem to think that other people are deserving of something as a human being. Because that's I'm a humanist. Inherently, every human being should have rights.
Yeah.
But then, just the way that society seems to work has it so unemployed people or disabled people or any variety of people that are unable to make enough money for whatever reason are put down and are degraded, well, not degraded, but less able to live life comfortably.
There's a pecking order in society, isn't there?
Yeah. Well,
in our society as it stands at the moment.
I saw an interesting analogy for how seemingly right-wing politics goes. You got 1,000 cookies, and you've got a billionaire, an average working person, and an average working immigrant. The billionaire straight off just takes 999 of those.
Yeah.
Because they've managed to trick the others into fighting each other. And by telling the working person that the immigrant is going to take their cookie, manages to take all of those cookies. That's the end of it.
That's it. Right, okay. Yeah. Well, clearly it's not right. But
Perhaps
what do you do about
there are other. It's society's a bit less simple than that, but it's the vague idea that you get a lot of the time.
I think things are going to change as society becomes more and more automated, and the workforce has moved a lot more towards the leisure industries. Well, there's the universal basic income thing, isn't there?
Yeah. I think we've made our thoughts pretty clear on that. Some people would argue from the standpoint that intrinsically human beings don't have that value, they have to earn that. Now, as annoying as they may be to us, what argument would you put forth to them about this?
By what right do they assert that viewpoint is correct? Because, not everyone who holds that viewpoint is somebody who has worked for what they have.
Not necessarily, but I think a lot of middle class or working class people make that argument. There's a lot of working class Trump supporters. Because they feel...
But they choose to work.
Do they? They have to survive.
So, what is their objection to a society where they don't have to work to survive?
I don't know, I think they almost feel sort of cheated that they've been working whilst...
Right, so it's about breaking a cycle then.
Yeah.
I suppose there are certain jobs that need to be done.
Well, it's like when...
Are there always going to be people who want to do those jobs, even if...
It's like when older people complain, oh, you have it so much easier now. When they've also got easier than their parents had at their age.
It's actually bollocks anyway. I don't think that having everything that we've got available in today's world at the touch of a button is easier necessarily than having to work things out and having to struggle through difficult times. I don't think mentally that is easier, because to me, struggling through adversity and having to work out how to do things and making things happen with a lot less ease gives your mind something to do.
My mind have constantly got something to do though.
Yeah, but it's not... A lot of the time it's difficult to focus that, isn't it?
Right.
In today's world, because there's so much... It's not just a question of, right, what do I need to do, and figuring out how to do it and struggling to do it and getting on and surviving. It's a case of, how do I work out what I need to do? I can't... I find it very difficult to actually decide. You've got Netflix, you've got Spotify. If you're going to sit down and watch a film or listen to a piece of music nowadays, how the hell do you decide? Whereas before, like back in my youth, it would have been a case of, well, I've got maybe 10 videotapes or whatever's on the 3 channels or 4 channels that are on telly.
It feels like...
If there's nothing on, you don't watch now, you do something else. There's a lot less to kind of...
Attention spans are getting a lot shorter as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like
But that doesn't make things easier for you. That makes things more difficult for you. That's used as a criticism by a lot of teachers and adults that I know who moan about the attention spans of kids nowadays. And it's like, well, that's a product of the world that you've created for them.
Sort of like...
How...
If they ask you to go home and use the internet for homework, and you've got a choice between homework, video games and porn, which are you gonna choose? There's not the homework. Depending on who you are, it might be one of the other two, and also just video
There's a
and
lot
social
more to
media
choose
and
from.
connecting with.
There's a lot more to choose from than that.
Yeah, it's not just video games and porn. The internet's a lot vaster than that, but
But to relax, it's like, but you can't, you know, the world that we're in now is the one that our predecessors have created, have brought about.
yeah, it's almost like
You can't blame them for the way it makes them. You know, you can't blame the kids that are growing up in that world for how it affects them.
yeah,
You've got to take responsibility for it. And maybe the attention span thing is something that, obviously there are things that need attention spans, but maybe there are things that we don't even think about that are better achieved by somebody with a shorter attention span. I don't know.
yeah. I suppose like a sort of fast mind, be able to switch from loads of things at once.
Yeah, I saw a picture the other day that somebody took of their kid on a sofa with the TV on and a laptop on their lap that they were playing a computer game on,
Yeah,
and their mobile phone in their hand that they were texting with at the same time.
it's almost like today's kids have to be good at multitasking to just be able to take in the sheer amount of information and keep up with it.
Yeah. And screens, it's hard work, being at a screen, whether it's a small one or a big one. It's your eyes and your brain. You're one thing I can't stand. I can cope with it, but one thing that I know for certain is very, very different from when I was a kid, and it's something that I would love to experience again, is being offline.
You can go offline.
But it's a lot easier said than done.
You almost have to sort of fast.
Yeah. I think it's the smart devices. Even when I was a kid, there was a telephone in the house, but nobody really used it that much to talk to me. Until I got older. As a kid, you wouldn't tend to, unless you were talking to family at Christmas or whatever. All the information was flowing one way. It was the TV and the radio. You were consuming information, but you weren't obliged to interact with it. But now, there's that pressure. If somebody texts you, if somebody emails you, and even if you're not online, if you switch your phone off, if you don't go on your computer or whatever, there's always at the back of your mind, well, what if somebody's trying to get in touch with me? What if somebody's texted me? What if somebody's emailed me? And I try not to succumb to that, I don't but it's there. Whether or not you're one of these people that succumbs to it and gives a shit if you give an instant response to someone. Personally, I don't. It's like if you can't get in touch with me because I'm busy, then I'm busy, and it's
I
tough
guess
shit.
that's sort of like the no mobile phone. I can't speak today. No mobile phones in classrooms thing. With some people, there's such a draw on their brain, and that's practically asking them to switch off a part of themselves.
Yeah, there are huge
hours.
benefits from it. The information and the things that you can do with that technology, but there's something been lost. When I went to Spain on holiday as a teenager, your age, and I remember I had a girlfriend back home, who I wanted to be in touch with at some point while I was on holiday, and it was like a 2-week holiday, maybe 10 days, I don't know, but we had to walk probably more than a mile to get to the international phone kind of porter cabin, if you like. And it cost quite a bit. You had to dial the international dialing code and what have you to dial back, and it cost quite a bit. And then, but you know what I mean? It wasn't a case of, oh, they can just instantly get you on Messenger. It was like, you knew that if you were on holiday for a fortnight, you were probably going to be in touch with somebody at home the maximum of once during that fortnight, and it was going to be for a couple of minutes.
Right.
But the rest of the time, you were completely... Your brain was on holiday. Your mind was on holiday. It was removed from the environment you always normally inhabit. But we kind of inhabit an online environment now, and that goes everywhere around the world. You know, when we go on holiday in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be leaving this house behind and everything that's here, but we'll be taking with us the internet.
Yeah.
You know, that won't be. We don't get to escape from that.
Well, you can't just look at it as all bad.
It's not all bad.
Because having to walk a mile to just talk to somebody,
but it does have that effect on the attention span that people so much berate, and it brings great benefits with it. You know, there are things that we can do nowadays that we just couldn't do before. But
yeah.
What I'm trying to say is that it's not easy. These people that say, "Oh, you kids have got it too easy nowadays."
Well, it's like earlier.
It's not in any way, shape, or form easy. It's harder.
Earlier, you said, I was making weird noises, and you said, "You are einen knob jockey," and I looked up the German translation just so I could correct you.
Yeah, which is...
Previously, I'd have to
Fine.
rifle through a German dictionary and probably get a shoddy translation, even though I already know a bit of German. I don't know knob jockey because they don't really teach that at school.
But, you know, there's so much... what I'm just trying to say is it's not easier, it's harder. So
It's you can't really quantify the difficulty of someone's life. It's a bit ridiculous to do that because they're not equatable. There's different.
I can certainly quantify the difficulty of my life now as opposed to 20 years ago or 30 years ago.
20 years ago, you were away with the fairies.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not 20 years ago, to be honest, but 25 years ago, maybe.
But things are a lot more effort now than they were then.
Hey.
Yeah. I have a lot more... I mean, it's maybe as you get older, you take on responsibility and you either deal with it or you don't. Maybe the fact that I'm actually dealing with the responsibility now, I mean, is the reason that it's harder, but things were easier for me when I was younger.
Yeah,
whether or not that's because I just went with the flow.
Really taking that much responsibility, no.
No, but apart from the times when you get the consequences, the rest of the time was...
But then if you don't actually care that much in the first place, then I guess that doesn't matter.
I've never really thought of myself as not an uncaring person, but then, you know, when you look...
It's just not really... getting bogged down in what other people think.
Yeah. I think it's about striking a balance, isn't it? I mean, you know, I can look back at that me from 20, 25 years ago and see a fucking arsehole that just not shat on people deliberately, but just didn't think about how what he did affected
if you
other people.
Just started like squatting on people and shitting on them, then I would think, yeah, that's an arsehole. I mean, you could see your arsehole then.
How do we link this back to welfare?
Don't know. Well, you're the one that said we should have a relaxed discussion today.
I know, but I'm feeling...
You don't look relaxed.
I'm feeling under an obligation to at least have some kind of link to the subject matter.
Yeah, we should. Let's have a go at the Conservatives.
Maybe we should. I know you said you didn't want to go into it too much, but maybe we should go a little bit into the future of the channel and the possibilities. keep the audience in the loop. Involve them in our thought processes.
It would be better off if we've actually got those clear.
I suppose.
Um,
I wonder what the because Breaking Bollocks is a slightly different animal to the channel as a whole, in that it is a podcast for a start, and it has, I suppose, a semi-serious edge to it. And it'd be interesting to know what it is about the podcast show, that the people who listen to it, what it is about it that they like, whether it's the serious side or they're just like listening to two people slag each other off occasionally. Probably a bit of everything, I suppose, but I don't have an attention span, but I can.
Clearly.
Like, welfare is just kind of.
Like, you lose track of me during, like, one sentence.
Why is that, though? I mean, what?
Am I boring?
No. Well, I suppose it could be to do with the substances I took as a younger person, but it's. I just.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's just most of the time it's just because I'm really tired.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Oh, don't, because I will.
Go to sleep for better.
No, don't, because I will.
See, when we didn't have coffee today, that's the problem.
Oh yeah, there is that. Yeah, but you get wired.
Yeah.
I like being relaxed. I like being laid back. It's more me.
You're not.
Oh, I'm just kind of hunched over, but yeah.
You need a good wake up slap.
You need a wake up punch. We don't have anyone watching today in the stream
Doesn't matter.
place.
We don't know that.
No.
The streamer is just sort of an extra bit in case. But
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, podcast people out there in podcast world. How do we I like the idea of some of the podcasts that I listen to. I like the idea of that they have a bit of a sense of community going on.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult thing. Even they admit that it's a difficult thing to cultivate. You know, they do that, and it's maybe because both of us actually. Well, there is one podcast you listen to which is mainly two people talking, isn't it? That's the Hello Internet one.
Yeah.
But then a lot of other stuff that we do, we listen to, is groups of people, which is probably a lot easier to keep conversation going, and, you know, social dynamics between different people. One person can shut up for 10 minutes and it doesn't matter.
But it's difficult to get a hold of people.
Yeah.
And reliably get them ready for specific dates.
And people who aren't arseholes as well.
Yeah. Considering that's most of my friend group.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose I'm sort of comparing formats that have been going for several years, and, you know, it's taken them that long to get to where they are now.
Like Did After Dark, the first episode was just two people.
Yeah, I was just listening to their 100th episode, and it's interesting. It's really interesting seeing how that dynamic's developed, and, you know, you sort of think you think that people out there doing a podcast are kind of well known. You think, but you've no idea. There's this disconnect, isn't there, between you and the audience? You've no idea.
Sorry. And let's just talk.
Okay.
In regard, we don't have to have that. We can just talk about things. You look depressed right now.
Yeah. I feel like it needs.
Should we because this is welfare? Should we maybe talk about our welfare?
Yes, I think we should. Yes.
I mean,
well, that's probably the reason I think that would stand a better chance of actually generating some conversation, is that anyone who's listened to us in the past will pretty much already be aware of our views on the political aspects, like the social welfare and this, we're both, and actually as a result, direct result of a lot of what we've discussed on the politics side of things, which has been a fair amount, I would say that I've actually moved further left in my political outlook from where I was before. So I'm all in favour of a very strong welfare system.
Yeah.
In that sense.
I think
I don't think we could keep it. Sorry, I'm just doing my interrupting thing.
Because I have mentioned before this idea of a societal progression towards socialism. Not socialism, but I kind of slurred there. Sure. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
No one cares. Nobody's listening anyway, so. Well, apart from me, I'm listening.
Don't put yourself down, man. People like her stuff.
Do they?
I listen to it myself and I enjoy it. I mean,
this could be a really interesting episode to listen to, actually, because if there's nothing else about it, I think it is honest.
It's probably the most personal episode yet. Maybe.
I feel like we've been trying too hard.
What?
Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent there. You were talking about.
I've mentioned the social progression thing before. Stop fiddling with my drumstick.
I can't.
Put your hand behind your back.
Oh, Jesus. You're going to start punishing me, are you?
Fuck off. Jeez.
That took a dark turn.
No.
I thought you were actually going to leave then.
Oh, I did think about it a couple of times during this.
Can you pass me that globe there?
No.
Oh, I want to play with it.
It doesn't. It's not actually on.
I know, but you can switch it on. It's got a switch on the side.
Yeah, but it has to be plugged in.
Okay. I digress.
This is what we mean by the attention span thing.
I know, but maybe it's entertaining. Who knows?
I don't care if it's entertaining. It's annoying for me.
But that entertains me if it's annoying for you.
Does it entertain you to be slapped?
I'm sure it probably entertains the listeners too. I'm not sure, I just don't care. But it probably is.
Just stop talking about being entertaining for the listeners. Just us talking is usually entertaining.
Maybe we should concentrate on being entertaining to each other.
No, maybe we shouldn't just concentrate on being entertaining. Maybe we should just be.
Just be.
Do not try, just be. I don't know if you heard.
Of course
there was a dog outside and just went.
Yeah, they heard. I'm sure they heard.
Well, now they're having a parking match with one another. I
want it to be free.
Shut up. I was getting on my point, and you keep interrupting me by fiddling with things, and just trying to.
Condense.
What?
Condense. Don't take half an hour to make a point, and then you won't.
Well, stop interrupting me every 5 seconds.
6 seconds?
I'm about to throttle you.
Please don't kill me. If the next episode...
My God.
If the next episode opens with, "Hello, Internet, I am Firebolt," and then continues with just Firebolt talking...
Maybe we should do
Call
that.
the police.
Maybe we should do that just as a joke.
I feel as though it would be...
Think of a word. Any adjective. Not any, but...
So what were you talking about?
The social progression.
Something's resonating. Sorry, carry on.
It's probably my music stand, yes, because that does vibrate.
Well, they're not in this for the audiophile aspect, are they? Society.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Fucking mind. I'm on the verge of about to break down with you.
What are you doing? What are you saying, I mean?
Right. For the 21st century, I think the way that Scandinavian countries run the society, heavy welfare with corporate restrictions, but not necessarily what you'd call a controlled economy. And I don't know if I'd really argue for a controlled economy at any point, really. I'm not entirely sure how successful that would be. Sort of elements of socialism and capitalism intermixing. So you can have a free market, but with restrictions.
Yeah.
I think that works best, and it's what we call, I think, social democracy. And in more extreme cases, democratic socialism. Although I don't know how many people
That's just
actually
swapping the words around, isn't it?
No, they mean something very different.
Yeah, I know they've maybe taken on or been applied as something different as labels, but essentially it is just two words swapped. Social democracy and democratic socialism.
Social policy.
It's like the difference between carbon dioxide and I don't know. Hydrogen. Oh, no, never mind.
Carbon dioxide and carbon oxide, because really...
No, that's not the same.
No, they are.
Carbon dioxide and
They would
dioxide
be the same.
carbon.
They would be the same if you do the formula
Oh,
thing.
no, I'm not a chemist, obviously.
Obviously.
But you know what I mean. Anyway,
Yes, I do.
do continue, if you wish.
I think that works best for modern society. Having those socialistic policies in a free market economy. Because there was something recently, I think it was Trish Reagan, off of Fox News.
Off of?
Yeah. Well, the right tend to, whenever someone mentions socialism, just say Venezuela, and that's most of their argument. Like, there's so many things, as soon as they mention socialistic policies, they'll just say Venezuela.
Who will?
Particularly those on Fox News, but generally people on the right.
Okay.
Are you aware of the situation in Venezuela?
No. But I'm sure you're about to tell me all about it. I'm sorry. I'm gonna.
You're a fucking child.
I know. I can't help it.
I feel like throughout the course of this channel, I basically become your dad.
Well, it was called Breaking Dad. What did you expect to happen? No, tell me about it, but in simple terms for a child to understand.
Right. Okay, so first of all, I'm not sure when this has been, maybe 2010? I'm not sure specific dates. A guy called Hugo Chavez. Well done. Oh, well done, you know something. Became Prime Minister or President of Venezuela. And what he was doing seemed pretty good. Like, people were being cared for, fed, more than in the past of Venezuela, which had been overshadowed by the cartel, I would say.
Yeah.
But more recently, I don't know his first name, but a guy named Maduro, I think Nicolas Maduro, has gotten into power.
Right.
And become very authoritarian, especially towards those who criticise him.
Yeah.
And now there's a fuck ton of civil unrest there, and people are having to eat off the streets.
That taps into a concept which I suspect is more the issue with any kind of political system, and that's about, it's not about whether it's socialist or capitalist or anything like that. It's more about whether it's authoritarian.
Yeah.
Because what we opened up with when we were talking about the social credit system in China was that the reports I'd read had been talking about, there's always been these kind of systems in place in China, that there's been a kind of a social kind of rating system, if you like, and people have been sort of rounded up and imprisoned and stuff if they behaved in certain ways by the government. But the thing is, now it's turned into a kind of a soft approach, and it's becoming an example of the world's first digital dictatorship. So that really is kind of that. I think that's the issue, isn't it? It's the dictator,
Would you not argue
the
that, though,
authoritarian kind of.
although we're
aspect of
not
it.
to this level scrutinised in Western society, our actions are monitored, especially online,
definitely.
by corporations.
Well, that's interesting because
And
is that who is in charge in a capitalist society?
for them, I think in a very capitalist society, especially in somewhere like America, because they give so much money to the politicians, they essentially own the place.
Which is when any kind of welfare system would suffer, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
That's
encouraging people to follow their own dreams, I guess, rather than working for this company, and also means that some of the gaps in the budget would have to be filled by raising corporate tax.
Yeah,
they
but then why would a corporation give a shit where the money comes from that somebody spends, as long as they're spending their money?
Yeah, but they give a shit where, because with this also giving people welfare, you would want a national health service.
Yeah.
Just as a base, because then
definitely
insurance costs would be too high from any reasonable.
Well, it's a fucking mess in America, isn't it? The health.
If you haven't got insurance, then you get charged thousands, and that would be too much for a welfare system to support. American healthcare actually costs more than the universal healthcare systems.
Yeah,
way more. Despite the fact that American pundits would have it that the bureaucratic inefficiency of government would make it that. It's just not shown in actual examples of these places.
Yeah.
So you would need to fill parts of that budget, I think, like I said, with corporation tax. Either that or you're in masses of debt, which they already are, but whatever. But yeah, maybe we should get on to our own welfare.
Yeah, okay. You look a bit worried there. You're like sort of...
I don't know. I always feel a bit sort of careful of how much I should reveal about myself online, because I'm aware that things come back to bite people on the arse that they did online even a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, be careful then. But, I mean, remember, we're going to be... as you'd said earlier, this is probably our most personal kind of episode so far, and that's fine. But also remember, we will be switching the mics off later on, so if there's anything you particularly want to talk about that you think shouldn't be aired online, then that's fine. There will be an opportunity to do that, but I suppose we could talk about our welfare in terms of the channel itself and how that's
Right.
affected us both positively and potentially negatively, I suppose.
Right, yeah. I think it might be good to start with the positives. Really doing this, I mean, we did connect before.
Yeah.
But not as much as we have in the past year.
No.
And I think that's largely been due to working together on this project.
Yeah, working together does bring people together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A common goal.
And although we've had our disagreements and ups and downs.
Well, that's been a learning experience.
Yeah, that's
as well.
been learning how we are, really.
Yeah. I suppose before that, whenever you had problems, and there's still times when there are certain things that you might go more to mum for, just in the same way that there are some things that I might discuss with you, funnily enough, or other things that I'll go to star stuff with, obviously, people. But yeah, in essence, it's brought our sort of father-son relationship closer together, if you like.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's been positive. It's been good for the family bonding.
But also, I've just had something constructive and creative to work on for that.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's been good.
I generally don't enjoy school. And although I do like learning, a lot of extra bollocks is just on top of that.
School's a particular kind of academic institution, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a lot of unpleasant people.
I would actually argue that I wouldn't necessarily label it as specifically an academic institution. It's an institution. It has academic work done in it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that's the focus, and it should be.
Right.
Churning out conformists is
often
higher up their agenda, I think.
I'll be like, oh, I've got a recording session later, and that's exciting.
Right, that's good, yeah.
Because I do actually enjoy doing this. And you have said before, like, having a chance to play games, because you do enjoy games, with some sort of justification, I guess.
I suppose this is one of the difficulties that I've found myself coming up against, that now we're getting quite a way into this, and there is the potential for the actual background work to inflict on other parts of my work life. It's now that I'm beginning to sort of think, well, how much of the time spent on the channel is doing those parts of it? Because, as you say, you when you're at school, you look forward to the recording session that you've got going on later on. But would you think the same way if you had to all you had to look forward to was an editing session? Would you look forward to that in the same way?
Probably not, no.
So I think the balance for me is too much in that direction. I do have pride, and I know what you mean. I do pride myself on putting out a good quality product. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
An end, kind of something to be proud of. You want it to look and sound good. Up to your own standards. But if it takes, 5 or 6 times as long to achieve that part of it than the actual
But I also
doing
think
of it itself.
I've become a lot more confident in general.
Yeah.
I mean, going into secondary, I was very shy, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think initially I went to debating club and also went to philosophy club, and that was sort of because I didn't really have any friends at that point, because I decided that a bunch of them were the sort of people that I just didn't need in my life.
Yeah.
Not the current ones, although to be honest, it probably still applies. But
you know who you are.
I just sort of deal with it better now.
Yeah. And I think people appreciate that more. People can probably tell if you're being honest with them. If you're not pulling any punches. If somebody's being a dick and you tell them, okay, it might seem on the surface that that's a bit harsh, but at the end of the day, they probably really appreciate the honesty there. Because nobody wants to be a dick deep down. They might not be able to stop themselves being a dick, but nobody actually gets up in the morning and thinks, how much of a dick can I be today?
I think that you would be surprised, but generally, most people think that they're making the world a better place through their actions.
By being a dick.
Most people would like to make the world a better place and think that what they do is somewhat positive. I mean, you might get a bit of self-hatred afterwards for thinking, oh, hang on, what I did earlier was just terrible, but...
And, you can't tell how much of someone's actions and behaviour are down to insecurities. You know, how many people, if they had real control over their actions, would choose to be the way they are consciously, or just can't help it because of whatever reason.
There was something interesting and somewhat perhaps revealing earlier in the week. I won't say any major details, but I did see I thought they were fighting at first, but I did see two girls just stop in the corridor and start kissing.
You thought they were fighting?
Well, one of them looked like they were strangling the other, but because they got pushed against the wall. But
all right.
I don't know. It might be their thing.
Passionately, then, presumably.
Yes, quite. And
if you thought they were fighting, it must have been fairly passionate.
A group of about 8 boys just started sort of jeering and laughing. I'm not sure if they would entirely do that to a straight couple, but it's an interesting thing to see, because I think Scotland is generally alright on that sort of stuff, but
yeah, they were jeering and clapping?
No, jeering and laughing.
Jeering and laughing, oh, right.
And there's that whole thing with like men liking lesbians, but I don't know. It was just a bit. It made me just sort of think about how assholey some people can be.
Yeah, there's all sorts of dynamics going on in that situation, isn't it? I mean, it's not just a question of why the lads reacted the way they did, but why did the girls do that in the corridor at school in the first place? You know, it's the sort of thing you would do in private, really, normally.
Yeah, I did think that, but then sort of thought, well,
even if it doesn't matter about your sexuality, whoever you are, you wouldn't tend to, even if you're whatever your persuasion is, a heterosexual couple, a gay couple, whatever, to passionately push someone against the wall and kiss them in a way that could be misunderstood as fighting is kind of it's not the sort of thing you would generally do in public.
No, I have seen that, and there's been little to no reaction on that.
Yeah, but it's not. It's nothing to do with anyone else. It's the sort of thing most people would do in private.
Yeah, they
because
wouldn't
no one else's
make that
business.
much of a scene about it, I don't think.
You know, I mean, what would stop them if they really, really needed to kiss each other right then and there because they were passionately needing to? Why not go somewhere more private?
I mean, it might even be just sort of making that statement of
we're lesbians,
sort of testing it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they'll be at the age where that's kind of really relevant as well, you know.
But I just sort of thought, well, that's actually probably quite a meaningful moment to them.
Possibly, yeah.
But I don't know. Some of those people I have seen go out of their way to be dickholes to other people, even when they're not really doing anything to provoke that, I guess. But back onto our welfare. That's just sort of the point that it's just school is an effort for me to go through, especially getting up so early in the morning.
It's a huge melting pot, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just sort of throwing all the sort of insecurities of puberty into just like, it's like just putting a bunch of dickheads in a room with each other
and lighting a match
and then telling them to listen to complex mathematics.
Well, and some of them want to.
Yeah.
But the majority probably don't.
But it's just all that sort of frustration put into one place.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who haven't got things figured out all in one place.
Like, I doubt most people during puberty have got their shit figured out.
I don't think you necessarily ever do. I think you just grow accustomed and resigned to the fact that it's okay.
Maybe. But then, I don't know.
And in fact, the more someone claims that they have got their shit figured out, the more you know they're fooling themselves, at
it's
least.
just quite often I don't feel like I'm enjoying days.
Days, daytime, you mean? Like,
That will just enjoying the average day.
we so need a holiday, don't we?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
But I think that gives me, the channel gives me some sort of release.
Yeah.
Because whilst I am on camera, I can be sort of myself, I guess. And I've sort of felt like I can be myself more with my family.
It's good. Everyone has different personas as well.
And, but then just looking at, because I do have that sort of often that pessimistic attitude that I'm not doing enough, that I need to be constantly doing something to be productive. I've had that like 15. They're just looking at the sheer amount I do each week is
It's hard.
revealing, and I don't really see that as a big deal.
It's sometimes hard to switch off and give yourself time out.
I realised in first year that having a week like that would either make me like the proudest I've been in my life, or just absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
Like every morning of the school day, I presented part of an assembly. There's Erasmus is, if you haven't heard of Erasmus, it's a EU thing, sort of student exchange program, and our school is focusing on a sustainability thing to do with the environment, and I was presenting an assembly on that. Later on the Monday, I was helping sort of encourage recycling and sort of give advice on which items actually go in recycling.
Yeah. I know for a fact that that's had its effect on you, because there have been quite a lot of times I've noticed you have been asking, can this be recycled? Should this be recycled? And, you know, when there's been stuff to sort
well, it's
out
just like
in the kitchen.
most days I don't have box of raspberries at school. And there's like a little pad that's I think designed to keep the moisture getting out, and that can't be recycled, and then you've got the actual top that can't be recycled, and then you put the actual box in the recycling. Just sort of little things like that, because you'd be more aware of that since you are the sort of person around the house.
Yeah, more aware of, but I would also remember it's just I'm figuring stuff out as well. But yeah, I mean, in general, it's just like the cellophane type plastic. You can't. If it's harder plastic, you can.
Yeah. The next day, Tuesday, not sure how much actually happened that day. That was actually a relatively decent day, I think. I'm not doing much, but I still presented that assembly, and when I go home, I've got loads of projects on the run. I'm sort of trying to, I don't know if I've mentioned this before outside of Bob, but sort of trying to run a fictional country called West Korea. I'm writing a book about that.
It's just incredible.
Recently, well, not recently, but there's this thing called nation states.
Yeah, that's been going a long time, that.
And I've got involved in a community of that
I
a
didn't
while
realise.
back, and now I'm Prime Minister of that region.
Are you? Jesus.
Yeah, because the guy leading it was busy for
Yeah.
a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm now Prime Minister of that. Well, shit, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, fucking hell. You are actually a virtual Prime Minister.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing out of ridicule. I'm laughing out of, I suppose, astonishment, disbelief to a certain extent. It's like, to anyone out there of the older persuasion who is short-sighted enough to blanket claim that the youth of today have no attention span and just have a basic downward view of teenagers.
Not to mention that most days I'm doing about an hour of editing for this. And on a fair amount of days, simply because we're getting prepared for holiday, we're sort of rushing a bunch of recordings together.
None of this is enforced either. This is all through your own choice. We're not slave driving. We're not cracking the whip here.
The only bit that's actually enforced is going to school.
Yeah,
I chose to be a part of that group.
We do
Erasmus.
try to encourage a certain amount of washing up occasionally
I
and
choose
stuff.
to do these projects. I choose to do this channel. And whilst there are now certain pressures there to keep up that, because I've committed to them, mainly for myself, to be honest, I initially started that.
Sorry.
On the Wednesday recorded, and also I looked after my niece for about an hour.
That's hard work, that. You do well at that.
Yeah. Everyone
She's
else just
two.
goes and talks.
Well, I was working.
Yeah, and I understand that there are reasons that I do that, and that her mother is usually looking after her, so having a break for an hour is nice.
Yeah.
It's like a 24/7 job.
We're all juggling everything that needs to be done between us, really, aren't we? I mean, because there's...
On Thursdays, I go to a debating club and am participating in a public speaking competition in November. And have already prepared parts of a speech for that.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, recorded Bob.
How the hell do you get time to game?
I rarely do now. Most of my gaming's now recorded.
Yeah. That can't be right. I mean, it can't be good that you don't get any kind of, what do you call it? Recreational gameplay.
I do sometimes. It's just often now. There's almost that sort of guilt that you're not doing something more
Yeah.
productive.
So I think that's why we need to inject
Yeah.
more fun back into the process, isn't it, really?
And then what else? Oh yeah, on Saturdays go to music centre,
Yeah.
and I'm doing a concert in November or December.
I think it's December, but
December.
yeah.
Where I'm playing at a reasonably professional level.
Well, for your age, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
And also, not to mention, on Wednesdays I actually take music lessons. I'm doing a lot of stuff, and it burns me out
yeah.
a lot.
I
I
think-
know you're doing a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah,
you've got a choir on Monday. Is it Monday?
Oh, right, okay, so
Let's
Here we
switch
go.
your schedule.
Monday evenings is, well, if you take all the sort of family stuff, because of Star Stuff's pain condition, I do take more responsibility for things like washing and laundry and cooking and stuff than people might generally have to in my position. And part of that coming up is that we've got a tribunal to prepare for, which is to do with the welfare thing that we're talking about today. I think it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah,
65% of welfare appeals that go to tribunal are upheld. That basically means that the system that the government have in place is weighted to refuse 2 out of 3 qualifying cases,
because most people just don't have the time to.
and that's not including
that.
any of the ones that give up before they get to that point, because it's just too hard anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
The system is designed
That's
to stop people from
getting what they're legally.
getting what they're actually entitled to
Yeah,
as a human being and legally.
Yeah. Fuck the Tories. Anyway,
Yeah.
Monday evenings I accompany a choir. Tuesday evenings I musical direct a choir, which involves accompanying them and teaching them songs and trying to conduct with my head at the same time. And this is a group of. This is all female. It's not by choice. It's just that they can't get any men involved. But this is all like sort of. I'm going to be careful now because one or two of them do listen. I know one does listen sometimes.
Okay.
Mostly middle-aged to and slightly older women. So,
Who, from the sounds of it, can be a bit dramatic.
yeah, but I'm kind of used to that. So Wednesdays,
I mean, from the sound of some of your past relationships,
we tend to
understandable.
it's fit in shopping as well at some point. Wednesdays, I don't know what happens on a Wednesday. We usually record on a Wednesday, don't we?
Yeah.
Wednesday evening.
You're usually 2 recording sessions.
See,
as well.
this week actually does sound as though it's fairly empty. I had 2 concerts on Saturday, yesterday. One of which was the choir that I MD for in a shopping centre in Aberdeen. We did a 2-hour gig in support of the Samaritans, and then in the evening I did a 4-hour gig at a wedding. And I say a 4-hour gig, but that's not a 4-hour work day. That's like travelling there, setting up, breaking down, and travelling back again. That's pretty much a 6 or 7 hour stint. And there's all the work that goes into that. That's with the wedding band that I'm in. But I also do, I think the big one that's coming up, which I was worried about really with the workload for the channel, was after we come back from holiday, is that your sister has a panto for a week, during which I have to do all the transport and do a chaperoning thing backstage for that. And I've got a band call for a show that I'm doing the following week. And then as soon as that one finishes, I'm into a panto run up at Huntley. So I've got basically 3 weeks of just flat out.
We quite possibly will need to take a break for a set amount of time.
But I think what I'd said was,
time. I think we will get through the holiday stuff, but we'll see.
I don't know. I think I would rather concentrate on trying to get a schedule together that we can maintain when the shit hits the fan, so that it's regular and people know what they're getting and it doesn't sort of stop. And that would be easier to do if there was a different way of approaching it, I think. But that's for our discussion anyway. Where were we? We're talking about our welfare. Yeah, we need to regroup.
I mean, the week previous, I had like a pretty shit week. I mean, it did start all right. I don't know if I'd mentioned this at all, because we did go watch Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman, yeah, that was fun.
It was very funny. Although, we probably mentioned...
Fucking hell. The giraffe joke.
Yeah, that still makes me laugh now. If you ever go to see Dave Gorman, just please brace yourself for that.
Yes.
So funny.
Oh my god. I'm just thinking about it now. It just makes me laugh even more.
So wrong.
You're wrong. Right, okay. The funny thing is, this is genuinely laughing about it. Sorry, carry on. I'm just not. I just didn't think that I would be laughing about it genuinely, but you know, carry on.
Right.
After this much time, carry on.
Yeah. We've mentioned before that Star Stuff has a problem called TMJD.
Temporomandibular joint dysfunction.
That's the one. Which is a jaw problem, meaning that talking
Intensely
and
painful.
eating and laughing and just it being there is often quite painful. I think I've got some of the early signs of that. Particularly, you can sort of hear that my jaw clicks. And also I can't open my mouth very wide. I tried to eat an apple a couple of months ago, and that was agony.
Sorry. Can you hear that? Could you hear that when I was doing that?
Yeah, but that's you knocking your teeth together, isn't it?
No. My jaw.
But you're moving it in a different way, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same thing. It's not clicky. It's. I should stop doing it though because it hurts a little bit.
But yeah, so that did actually give me like a really bad headache the next day.
Actually, doing that makes me wonder whether or not, because I can do it deliberately, and it does hurt after doing it deliberately. But if it's a sort of thing that you can't stop happening when you move your jaw, I would imagine that would cause a lot of pain over a period of time, because you know, I only did it just to sort of say, well, look, I can do it. But it's just after doing it a few times like that, it does hurt a bit.
And I think this is slightly connected to a dizziness problem I've had as well, where often I'll just be walking along and things will just go a bit fuzzy and I will just have to stop walking. And sometimes I've actually fallen over as well.
Some of that can be tiredness as well.
Yeah, it is influenced by tiredness, but
Speaking
it's
of
sort of tension headaches.
Speaking of which,
to do with the jaw.
we should.
But then on that day, I also got pushed down the stairs.
That's not very nice.
And then on the first day, I had a bit of a mental breakdown.
As you do.
And
Was that
then became ill.
Yeah, you had a cold, didn't you?
Yeah, it was at home about midnight.
It's funny that though, because obviously, often when you're overstressed, your body can forcibly make you rest and just have a time out and take a break. It'll just be like, look, you're not going to take the decision to chill here, so I'm going to give you a fucking cold, so you've got to.
Yeah.
Your body says, like, just stop.
And the headache that day was so bad that I just couldn't really, like, it took me a few seconds to process simple information.
Yeah.
I think when we boot up the MacBook, it says disconnected from network, which is bollocks because it doesn't actually matter.
That's just because the NAS server's in for repair at the moment. It will stop doing that when that gets reinstalled.
I knew normally we just click, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But it was just like for 10 seconds just staring and going, what?
Yeah, what does that mean? What is that thing in front of my face?
Because the headache in my head was just so distracting.
Anyway, as I was going to say, with all of this, and the fact that we obviously both need a bit of sleep, I suppose we should be thinking about winding up soon.
We should maybe talk a bit more about what the topic was actually meant to be about, the welfare thing.
Go on then.
Well, that whole disability benefits thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are surprisingly unsympathetic to people with disabilities. If you didn't know, I am myself technically disabled because I have mild autism. Although
hypermobility.
Yeah, meaning that the hypermobility part means that for about 2 years, I haven't been able to exercise without hurting myself, which is dangerous for my mental and physical health.
Yeah.
But I don't want to have to, every time I do that, to just spend about an hour just resting.
But that's maybe partly as well an indictment of the school system, because you know, the PE, this problem with doing any kind of PE at school has been based on the fact that when you do, or if you do, you would be expected to do it at the same level and standard as everyone else, which is not appropriate to your needs. You know, I mean, you say and
also
it hurts to do physical exercise. That's not essentially true. What's true is that it hurts to exercise the same way as
it
anyone
hurts
else your
to
age
go
would.
for a walk for 10 minutes.
Well, yeah, but that's obviously beyond what you should be doing, at least to the
But
start.
it interrupts my... sometimes you do need to walk for 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's not like the kind of exercise when I go to the gym for an hour.
No.
It's not like
I'm just every day walking, like, from class to class, and just where I need to go during the day or night, I guess.
And I forget that as well.
Me.
We'll have to try and remember that on holiday, or I'll have to try and remember that on holiday, because there'll be a fair amount of walking involved.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like... I mean, and to be honest, like, after too long, it actually becomes, like, agonising. Just with every step it hurting. And just sometimes my feet just randomly decide, I'll just go wonky today. And just... Then every step hurts. And then that's just sort of chipping away at your mental state.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we sort of deal with a lot just in the background, and you always wonder how much other people are dealing with.
You do.
Because most people don't have this sort of thing by the looks of it. I don't know how much they think about it or whatever, but I don't know how much they've got to do.
No, and you can't get inside someone else's mind, so all you've really got to base it on is taking people's word for it, if it's not a visible condition.
Yeah.
Which, let's face it, a lot of things aren't. That doesn't make them less real.
And then you begin sort of getting into that cycle of getting annoyed at yourself for getting annoyed at yourself, because I am doing so much and yet I still feel like I'm not doing enough. To the point where I just start sometimes hitting myself to just stop me from getting into those thought spirals, and then that becomes something dangerous of its own. It's been quite an insight into my mental health. I didn't expect to have this on welfare, because we were going to talk about mental health at some point.
But I think it does definitely prepare our following for the impending changes which may come about in our...
We're not making any commitments yet, but we'll just have to see how things go. It's just sort of saying that
things will continue
are
in some form
right now.
Yeah, things will continue in some form. We're not going anywhere, like, long term. But I mean, other podcasters and other producers' channels and stuff like that have breaks. You know, I know a lot of podcasts have seasons, don't they?
Yeah, I was trying to do a Hamilton take a break, but my voice doesn't go high very well.
I'm ready for this holiday. It's going to be a busy holiday. We're going to be doing a lot, but it's going to be a change. It's going to be a complete removal from our everyday mundane lives. Mundane? Okay. That was the wrong word. There's nothing about our life that's mundane.
Like, it becomes just through how you become desensitized to stuff that is actually quite a big
I suppose
deal.
that's the thing. The constant editing has become mundane for me.
I mean, I think you'd then begin to wonder, like, people who are often on tour, does that just become just like another day at the office? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
You know, I just played in front of 10,000 people, another day at the office.
Yeah, but there's
I imagine it's a big deal.
lot of work involved.
Yeah, because
that's the point at which they've got to make sure they're at their peak. And I suppose it's like when we open the mics or turn the camera on, you've got to make sure that you're ready to... Well, I mean, with that, you can edit it. I don't want to rely on that, but
what people see
you've got to focus.
Probably 20 or 10% of what we're actually doing on those videos, time-wise.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
I couldn't analyse it, but that's a minimum, yeah. I would say for me. Yeah. If you include all the marketing part and publication and the website and
which
Facebook and
make up a lot.
Yeah. But I like it to look good. I like it to look presented and stuff. You know?
Yeah.
I
mean, we've been doing this for less than a year.
It fools the people you know into thinking that you're successful. It gives an outward appearance of success. A bit like having a car you can't afford.
I mean, I'm happy just to sort of have good stuff there.
Yeah, let's just make it fun and make it look good, but make it fun. For us, it's not going to be fun for other people if it's not fun for us.
Yeah. It's understandable. But yeah, it's interesting.
So, yeah, anyway, it's getting on. So...
Right, do we have any thoughts on, like, the actual topic of, like, government welfare, or even, like, the idea of corporate welfare that some people think as corporations as people? Stop.
It's important thinking about the welfare of people in general, society in general. It's important.
We're all human beings.
Yeah.
I saw something.
How people are treated and how they feel about the lives and things that they have to go through it's all there is, you know? I mean, if you remove human experience from everything, there's no human race. So welfare is,
I think,
the most important thing.
I heard something by Brian Cox recently that actually sort of almost made me cry at how horrible that would be. Is that we would probably most meaning in life would be derived by humans, I think. Or at least just living beings. And although there are almost certainly other alien civilizations out there, there's a fairly good chance that there's maybe an average of one intelligent civilization per galaxy. So if tomorrow you decide to have a nuclear war, it's all meaning gone in the galaxy. If human beings go extinct, that's all meaning gone.
Which is quite a profound thing for Brian Cox to say, because he usually doesn't see philosophy as a valid.
Well, no, it's like all of science gone. It's all of just everything gone.
Yeah.
All of human progress, all of technology, everything just.
The spiders would survive.
All. What?
The spiders would survive.
Doubt it.
Yeah, they would.
It's cockroaches that have a high tolerance of radiation.
Okay, cockroaches then. The cockroaches would survive. some form of life would survive. But yeah, I know what you mean. The level of meaning that we've elevated
cockroaches don't
our
have
consciousness to.
Cockroaches don't have a high level of meaning. They mostly think about survival.
It would be a massive retrograde step for
any meaning in the universe. It was on Under the Skin.
What is meaning, though? Meaning's a human-made concept, isn't it?
The Russell Brand's podcast, Under the Skin. Yeah, let's not get onto meaning at like 11 o'clock.
No, yeah, we need to wind up. By the way, this one is 1st of November, so hope you had a good Halloween.
Yeah, we probably had a special for that.
Have a good fireworks night. Be careful, never go back to a lit firework.
Are you just giving
Don't grab the wrong end of a sparkler. I care about their welfare. You fucking... Oh dear.
I don't even know what that infers, but...
It made me laugh. And then enjoy the long march towards Christmas. Although we'll be seeing you along the way. You'll be hearing us. Well, we won't be seeing you unless you're one of the people who we know. I'm just rambling now.
March isn't at the end of the year.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Anyway... Shall we wrap up? I think we talked about
I haven't got you a present yet.
Social welfare a bit, but
so I can't wrap it up.
Okay, that's even. I think you've heard, if you've listened to the past podcasts, it's not really good for people that are recurrent listeners.
Yeah, but for
to
those
hear
that
the same thing over and over again drilled into their head, it's like
those that are with us,
it's a bit repetitive, and I don't want that. I think we've made our views clear, just in less detail.
Those that are with us for the long journey, hopefully you're experiencing the arc of our journey on this channel's development, and we might be at
a personal development.
Yeah, we might be at
because I am still going through puberty, so I'm going to change a bit.
We might be at a relatively low point compared to some other episodes in terms of the feel, the atmosphere, and
yeah, because I feel like a lot of time we've been like, oh yeah, massive energy, go woo.
Yeah, but you can't sustain that.
Yeah.
And I think I said this to Mum earlier on. Yeah, it's more personal. They know we're a family. That it's about finding a sustainable level of activity. I'm talking about the channel here.
Yeah. Oh Jesus Christ!
And on that bombshell, face.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Why?
Because I love nightmares.
Oh, right, okay.
What did you think?
Nothing. Right.
Sick man.
Yes, I know. Let's go. I need to get some sleep. And we need to discuss the future.
We've been doing that a lot with... I think we've made some progress, but it's just...
We'll get there. We
don't want to overdo it.
It's a work in progress.
Without gaps in between.
Yeah. Don't want to overcook the pudding. Over-egg
because
too many
it just
cooks.
Becomes meaningless. Just
like the galaxy. We will be responsible for our own metaphorical nuclear war. The annihilation of Breaking Dad. Galaxy Breaking Dad is no more.
What the fuck?
The orbiter is randomly...
But like, on our bodies, like there's life equivalent to what we would consider visible in a galaxy, and even just smaller parts than that.
That's not
going on constantly.
That's not going to get us out of the end of the episode.
No, it's not.
And if that camera cocks up now, I'm going to be so pissed off because I really don't want to change the camera with literally a few seconds to go. So shall we finish?
Can switch that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I've been Firebolt.
I've been the Orbiter.
And this has been quite a personal discussion. I don't think it's been good because we don't get to have a close up and personal chat with our dear listeners. I don't know.
That's just wrong.
So are you. Bye.
Yeah. Any suggestions? Email us at... What's our email address? Oh, you've got one.
BreakingDad71.
The Orbiter at breakingdadofficial.co.uk or Firebolt at breakingdadofficial.co.uk.
Or breakingdad71@gmail.com.
Yeah, but that's not at breakingdadofficial.co.uk. We are a professional organisation here. We have an image to maintain.
Bums. Bums. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. We'd really appreciate if you support us on various things, obviously subscribing on YouTube, Twitch, following us on Twitter or Facebook. We have a Discord server that you can join and talk to us and other people, and a website where you can check out blog posts.
And obviously this isn't free for us to run, so if you'd like to support us financially, we have a Patreon page where you can donate monthly and get subscriber rewards. We also have a Stream Elements tipping page where you can make one-off donations. The links are all in the description.
Farewell.
See you next time.